Okay, what is this, the 23rd? Shit, I gotta pay my cell phone. Okay, I haven't set up my studio, my mini studio thing. I don't even remember the name of it. It's got like a little board to it. I got a shock mount. I got a spit guard or a pop guard, whatever they're called. Ugh. But I'm dragging ass, and I'm having a lot of trouble figuring things out. I'm kind of getting used to that, having kind of diminished capacity. And that's what I'm going to be talking about today. Some more personal stuff as far as what's going on with me. Because there are some theories that people have with certain medications, and that, especially antidepressants. I don't remember the article. Like I said, I'm kind of an idiot these days. But I know on Stephen Millennieu, he quoted a bunch of articles talking about antidepressants causing brain damage. And I guess technically, if your brain is supposed to be a certain way genetically and they change your brain, that's already kind of brain damage, isn't it? Change how the your serotonin reuptake by inhibiting that or something like that, or serotonin norepinephrine reuptake inhibitor. I won't pretend to be a biochemist and really understand all that. I couldn't draw you molecules or anything like that. But I understand it conceptually. And, there are different, I think norepinephrine deals more with pain, and that's psychological and emotional and physical pain are kind of all related. That's why when your heart breaks, it hurts. Then we have like serotonin and dopamine. I kind of get the two and their effects mixed up. Again, these are all things I learned, but I've kind of lost some of my capacity. And it's been getting kind of weird. I'm also having kind of heart palpitations, and I don't know if it's a medication or maybe one of the medications wears off, and I'm very confused at this point, and I know a lot of you are too, and that's why I talk about these things. And this would be a great time. I'm going to keep this kind of short and just ask some questions maybe of the audience here. I know there aren't many of you. This is only, what is it, show number 12. I'm not famous. I don't have any books or anything like that yet. So it's, me not having more than 1 or 2 followers right now is, that's kind of part of the course. I kind of expected that. I mean, we all kind of wish we'd go viral, but I don't think I could even handle viral right now. If there was 1 million people I had to kind of talk to and then get comments from, I think I'd be pretty overwhelmed. So, slow and steady is winning this race, I would say. As long as my brain stays about me and I feel like it's being kind of slowly taken away. And I've complained about this to people, and they say, oh, but you're so intelligent, you use big words. There are definitely parts of the day where I feel like my IQ has dropped to kind of the produce department at your local supermarket. I just feel kind of like lost that neocortex. I still remember a lot of terms, but I'm very educated, and that's from reading books, from going to college for 1,000 years, and all the things I sought to do to enrich myself, to help myself with the issues that ended up being on medication anyway. And who knows, maybe I'd be a lot worse without my education in these areas of psychology and human behavior and, narcissistic family dynamics and all that. Maybe I'm kind of like Kelly from the Bundys, where, if you stick in some information and there's just so much capacity, then some of the other stuff has to go. I cracked up when she said wheat germ. That was amazing. Anyway, I'm hoping that somebody could, comment and maybe has a better understanding of what's happening to me. I know my father had Parkinson's. I've even thought of, going to 23andMe and, dropping the coin, which I can't really afford to do, but to see, maybe genetically what I might have, to just get a clearer picture. Maybe I do have ADHD, as opposed to a bunch of ADHD symptoms that just kind of come out because of the anxiety and depression that have been so prevalent in my life. And when I say prevalent, I mean, woo, both of them have gotten pretty hardcore. It was almost like I had gotten used to panic, to the point where I had basically a terrifying life. It seems to start very early in my life where everything was just terrifying. And I would have these, I had some specific phobias, but I had more of a generalized thing going on where just kind of out of nowhere, or there would be these kind of weak triggers, who knows. So I'm saying I didn't really recognize the triggers, but there were some specific phobias where it went from panic to just like I'm about to die. Because when you go through a lot of panic, you avoid everything you possibly can that sets it off. I remember as late as maybe 10 or 11 years ago, I had a girlfriend and I hadn't taken my medication, and we were on the train and I started having an attack. And I think after getting used to panic attacks after a while, they start becoming more anxiety attacks. Especially if you've been taking medication and maybe you just missed a dose, but it's still in your blood, because all these antidepressants, or at least the ones I've been taking, I've been told are anti-anxiety medications as well. But I needed, on top of that, either a clonazepam. Now I'm trying Buspar. And it didn't really work for me at 5 milligrams 3 times a day, so I'm taking it 10 milligrams 3 times a day, and that seems to be better. There's definitely better sleep, because I have a sleep behavior disorder. I know that's a sign of Parkinson's, but I don't know if that's like, this panic thing and, what's really wrong with my brain, if anything, other than, maybe it's just such deep-seated psychological shit. That's unlikely, but, I always kind of consider that possibility. I think it's kind of wishful thinking. I did have a bit of a traumatic childhood. And when I say a bit, I mean overwhelmingly terrifying. But that was not just what was going on. There was a lot of bad things going on, but there was also... it felt like I was already just like in a state of constant terror. So my reaction, it's almost like when you're really stressed out and somebody does something that's mildly annoying and you want to choke them to death. It was kind of like I was so already in panic, and then, something else would cause a little bit more, and it would just turn, into something that like more of a PTSD and just constant, traumatic events happening all the time. I reacted badly. The mix, I remember being very sensitive to sound. I still am. Certain people trigger me in my family for reasons I don't quite understand. They're not dangerous people. It's a mess. And I know I need help, but I don't know how to get the help I need. And that's really a big problem because I'm not very trusting. And if I go in and someone's kind of like, I think it's actually kind of healthy. I go in and I feel like I'm getting the wrong treatment yet again. I kind of withdraw from it and look for something else while kind of playing the game. Especially if they're like giving me my medication, I think of it as like, okay, I'll get the medication and get through this and hopefully get somebody who can actually help me at some point. So that becomes my kind of MO. Ah, I hope when I set up, I finally kind of wrap my head around it. You can still do things when you're kind of getting slowed down for whatever reason. Maybe it's chronic stress. Maybe my current situation creates a more chronic stress situation. I don't really know. Um, I know some of you are probably in the same boat where you don't know what's really going on with you. And it's kind of scary when you kind of feel yourself almost being not insane, but you almost feel out of control because you just don't have your wits about you, or you get really diminished at times. Like I said, my heart like starts fluttering, and I have these palpitations, and it happens once or twice a day. I've noticed if I just kind of roll with it, I could kind of eventually it goes away. It's almost like my body just having this weird oil reaction to nothing in particular, and it feels like I may have a heart attack, but I just try to keep that out of my mind and go, it's not going to be a heart attack. It's not, just keep like if somebody was going through this outside of me, if my friend was having, kind of this, kind of random attack, the things I would try to help them, the things I would do for them, I try to do that to myself. And it's gotten me, past. I wish I didn't have to deal with it, but it's got me past a couple of the attacks. Most of the time, I run for any kind of clonazepam or Xanax or something because it scares me, and if I let my head go into that mode, it just builds and builds and builds, and it gets worse, and it's bad enough. Trust me. So there are times that I was just like, let me get a Xanax so I know I'm not going to die, and it works pretty quickly on me. The microdoses work pretty quickly. I noticed a few days ago I was taking multiple medications that make you quote-unquote drowsy. All of them say don't drink while you're taking this, So it's a lot of kind of, calming down whatever part of my brain seems to be in hyperdrive. There's a Dr. Amen who's done like specials on PBS and stuff about like the 7 forms of ADHD as opposed to the 3. And there's one he calls Ring of Fire, where a certain part of your brain is actually hyperstimulated while your frontal lobe is actually lower. And then you have, I also came up positive for limbic, which is like another part of the brain that could be lower. So you can kind of have these combined forms, and it gets complicated, and that's why people don't really, no matter how much scientific proof there is out there, they don't go there because they like to stay with the simpler paradigms, I guess. They just go with the DSM, and you have hyperactive, inattentive, and mixed, and that's it. So anything when it comes to a part of the brain is hyperactive, a part of the brain is hypoactive. You're not going to get that kind of help unless you go to somebody officially part of the Amin clinic or officially uses his method. And I'm lucky. Down here in Florida, I think there's actually a couple near me. Hopefully when I start, there's some supposedly like a healthcare system down here in Broward. Luckily, Broward is actually pretty... they're this mix of Republicans and Democrats, of liberals and conservatives, where there's a lot of like really deep liberals from New York and the retirement complexes, but then the people around here are very conservative. So there's kind of this mix where it's like we're going to put money into this and to help people, but we're also going to do it right. We're not just going to like give them money. We're really going to look to like rehabilitate them and stuff like that and help them, become independent, working, all that. And that's great. I really want to be in a place like that. So being in Broward County, I might have just really lucked out. There's actually a lot more here than there is in Miami-Dade. and I had been going to Miami-Dade, but because for some reason all of them have like websites and stuff like that. So when you go on to like Google Maps, all this stuff in like West Miami pops up near me. But one that's not so near me, I got to hop on a couple highways, and that's not the easiest thing for me to do. I'm already a pretty agoraphobic. I'm already pretty kind of anxious. And then you throw in the mix that it feels like my performance on everything is kind of getting lower and lower. I don't know how long I'll be able to drive for. I don't know how long I'll be able to be kind of a conscious human being. So I'm hopeful that these places I found that I got kind of hooked up with by social services in the area that didn't pop up on my Google and stuff, I'm hoping that they'll be a lot more effective. Some people I could kind of have my faith in and see what happens. Work with it. I never really take everything at face value and just go, okay. I'm getting closer to that because I can't even organize my paperwork, It's very frustrating. It's not as bad when I first got to Florida, and before coming to Florida, I was so chronically fatigued that any kind of deadline was a joke to me. It was just like, I hope so, I hope I do kind of, don't screw this up completely. And, I think about I'm going to research this so I know exactly how to do this. So, they can't say anything when I apply for, this medical help or whatever. I paid into the system, worked my ass off. I got hurt. It's been pretty rough for me. And when I tell people I feel stupid, that I feel like sometimes there's a reason I kind of do these shows at the same time every day, because that's when my brain is kind of about me a little bit more. I get these kind of couple of hours at night, and then I could kind of plan things out. I can talk intelligently. Some of you are thinking, no, maybe not so much, Bri, but it's this kind of window of opportunity for me. And we'll see as I work with the government down here and their social services if I can take advantage maybe of those few hours. We'll see. Maybe I'll have to work only like at night during the kind of not so bad period. Well, so if any of you have any kind of comments as far as you've been taking antidepressants, anti-anxietants for a long time, and I mean like, 20 years. I'm over 20 years actually, more like 27. If any of you have been like on and off taking that, and so that would kind of mimic my situation, and you have, kind of the zombie brain, or maybe you're doing great, maybe you didn't take the max, and after, a few weeks, you still felt better, but you had less of the fog. Any kind of hint towards what might help. Diet, I know that's actually helped me a lot. I know I'm kind of answering my own question here. But a mostly vegetable diet with some kind of fruit in the morning seems to get me going with my coffee. Try to cut down on any kind of smoking or other bad habits. Definitely avoid alcohol. I'm pretty much at a point where I don't even have like the good tasting drinks anymore. I actually got like a little bar set to make mojitos and stuff because they're just so damn tasty. But I don't do that because I saw the sugar content, and that's causes inflammation. And it's really, sugar really isn't that. It's supposed to be kind of a rare thing you find, As far as like, according to evolutionary theory, we're not supposed to be eating fruits all the time. We're supposed to have more of a vegetable-based diet, and the fruit is kind of a treat. Um, I've kind of broken the addiction to sugar most of us have. I've broken my own problems with alcohol because they would calm down part of my brain. But because there are other parts of my brain that are way too low, that kind of general, nervous system depressant made me kind of just like, I guess, like stupidly psychotic. I was just like a dumb mook. Like it would slow down my whole brain, including the parts of my brain that were already slowed down, at least according to the Dr. Amen theory. So, probably not the best thing to do. Although it helped me not feel like I was going to die from panic attacks all the time. So, I give myself a little credit for at least trying to self-medicate myself, even if it was foolish, even if it was kind of, short-sighted. I didn't, but nobody knew. Amen has only been out in like the last 10 years, and I've been dealing with this for, since I was born. So we're above 20 minutes. I wanted to make this short and just kind of ask those questions. Tell everybody that they're not alone, the people who are going through this and maybe have these kind of symptoms I have. Yeah, I'm scared it's like a heart problem. I'm scared it's, Parkinson's or Lou Gehrig's or some sort of dementia or Alzheimer's. That's when you start having like dementia symptoms and narcolepsy symptoms and stuff like that. You start to wonder, did this cause, maybe the medication or maybe it's just me. Am I genetically, I was supposed to get it because, my father had a lot of these symptoms. You start to wonder, is this where I'm going? And it's scary. And any information will be greatly appreciated. And I'd love to disseminate that information to other people. If you are having some troubles and you think it's the medication, think back to when you were younger. Did you have like waking nightmares? They're called night terrors. There's also something called sleep behavior disorder, where you're like swinging in the bed, getting into fights, jumping out of bed, and like falling at a wall. If you have that, it's a lot more likely you have something like Parkinson's. But you have to think back, was I on medication at that time? What kind of stress was I going through? If it just kind of popped up, it makes it very likely. I think it's like 80%. But if it's, you had these problems when you were younger, you were medicated, you were in a constant state of agitation or, fight or flight, then I'm hoping that doesn't mean that you're still very likely to get Parkinson's, but just look it up. You might need to go to a neurologist and kind of figure all that out, and hopefully you still got some good years left, or something will come out. I know there's sort of like this pacemaker for the brain that they're talking about for Parkinson's disease. And I guess the main thing is to kind of get at least, to have a life, to not have it cut so short. I know this is a very depressing one. But I want to put that out there so people understand me and understand that I'm there for them if they're going through similar things or whatever they're really going through. I'm a bleeding heart. All right, guys. That's about all.